The Zelithian home system appeared before them like a fortress of light and metal. 200 warships hung in perfect formation around their capital world, the largest military fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could destroy planets, protected by shields that had never been broken. Jake Morrison stood at the center of his transformed bridge, no longer entirely human, but something far greater. The quantum tunnels connecting him to the ship pulsed with energy that existed beyond normal physics. Around him, his crew worked at stations that flowed like liquid thought, their minds linked to systems that operated in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Impressive, Claire Thompson observed from navigation. Her consciousness spread across multiple realities as she calculated approach vectors through spaces that didn't exist in normal physics. They've positioned their fleet too. Cover every possible attack angle. Every normal attack angle, Ryan Foster corrected from his weapons station. His targeting systems could now lock onto enemies across parallel dimensions, tracking ships that existed in several realities at once. But we stopped being normal a long time ago. Supreme Commander Vex watched the approaching human ship from his flagship's command center. Around him, the greatest military minds of the Zelithian Empire studied displays showing the vessel that had haunted their fleets for months. The ghost ship appeared on sensors as a shifting blur that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. All ships maintain formation, Vex ordered. 200 vessels against one. Even if their technology is advanced, they cannot overcome such numbers. But doubt gnawed at him. Every report from surviving fleet commanders described the same impossible phenomena. Human weapons that fired through time itself. A ship that could appear and disappear at will. Battles where entire fleets were destroyed without landing a single hit on their target. The UES Horizon approached the enemy formation without haste or fear. Jake could feel the ship's quantum consciousness analyzing the Zelithian defenses, finding weaknesses and patterns of reality that the aliens couldn't even perceive. Amy, open a channel to their flagship, Jake requested. Amy Rodriguez. Her mind now partially merged with the ship's communication systems, established contact instantly. Supreme Commander Vex's reptilian features appeared on screen, his scaled face showing the strain of months of defeats. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Horizon, Jake announced. 6 months ago, your saboteurs attempted to destroy this vessel. I want to thank you for what they accomplished. Surrender now, and we will make your death quick, Vex snarled. You cannot fight the entire Zelithian fleet, Jake smiled. Commander, you still don't understand what you created. Your sabotage didn't break our ship. It evolved it into something beyond your comprehension. As if responding to his words, the horizon began to change. The quantum tunnels running through its hull brightened until the entire vessel glowed with impossible light. Space around the ship began to bend and twist as reality itself reshaped according to its will. Dr. Hayes, Jake called to his chief scientist, show them what they gave us. Kevin Hayes, his consciousness now partially quantum itself, activated systems that existed in dimensions the Zelithians had never discovered. The horizon began to multiply, creating copies of itself in parallel realities that suddenly became solid and real. One ship became 2, then 4, then 8. Each copy was fully functional, equipped with weapons that could destroy matter at the atomic level and shields that redirected attacks to alternate dimensions. Impossible, Vex whispered as his sensors tried to track targets that existed in spaces his technology couldn't detect. Your saboteurs opened quantum tunnels in our reactor, Jake explained as his fleet of 8 identical ships moved through the enemy formation like ghosts. We learned to use those tunnels to access parallel versions of ourselves. Every reality where the horizon survived your attack. every dimension where human ingenuity found a way to turn your weapon into our advantage. The battle began not with explosions, but with the impossible. The 8 Horizon ships attacked from angles that didn't exist, firing weapons that struck their targets before the triggers were pulled. Zilithian ships found themselves fighting enemies that appeared behind, above, and inside their defensive formations simultaneously. Lisa Carter, her engineering genius now enhanced by quantum consciousness, coordinated systems that spanned multiple realities. Power flowed through the ship's transformed hull in patterns that violated the laws of physics while creating new ones. Brad Collins watched enemy formations collapse as their commanders tried to fight battles in dimensions they couldn't understand. Ships collided with each other while attempting to target humans, who existed partially outside normal spacetime. The Zilithian fleet, despite its overwhelming numbers, began to disintegrate. Their weapons passed harmlessly through quantum echoes, while return fire struck from impossible directions. Ships that tried to retreat found space itself folded around them, trapping them between dimensions. "This is what you accomplished," Jake announced as his transformed vessel continued its supernatural assault. "You tried to break human technology, and instead gave us access to the fundamental forces of reality itself." Supreme Commander Vex watched, his mighty fleet burn around him. Centuries of military tradition and technological superiority meant nothing against enemies who could rewrite the rules of existence. "How?" he demanded. "Human adaptability," Jake replied simply. "When you broke our systems, we didn't just repair them. We improved them. When you damaged our ship, we built something better. When you tried to end our expansion into space, you gave us the tools to dominate it instead." The last Zilithian ships were surrendering now, their weapons useless against foes who existed in multiple realities. The greatest fleet in galactic history had been defeated by a single vessel that refused to accept the limitations of normal physics. Admiral Susan Parker arrived with the Earth fleet to find the battle already over. Her ships emerged from jump space to discover the Zilithian home system filled with burning wreckage and surrender beacons. "Captain Morrison," she radioed, "report your status." Jake looked around his bridge, where his crew worked at stations that existed in several dimensions at once. The quantum tunnels that ran through their ship pulsed with energy drawn from the fundamental structure of reality itself. "Mission accomplished, Admiral. The Zilithian military threat has been neutralized. And your ship?" Jake smiled as he felt the Horizon's quantum consciousness merge more completely with his own thoughts. They were no longer human and machine working together. They had become something entirely new. "We're something the galaxy has never seen before," he reported. "The aliens tried to sabotage us into extinction. Instead, they forged us into the most powerful weapon the universe has ever known." Representatives from across the Zilithian Empire requested immediate surrender talks. Their perfect sabotage had created their perfect defeat. As peace negotiations began, Jake realized the true scope of what had happened. The quantum transformation would spread to other human ships. The technologies born from alien sabotage would carry humanity to heights of power that no species had ever achieved. The Zilithians had wanted to end humanity's journey to the stars. Instead, their greatest weapon had become humanity's greatest gift, transforming attempted destruction into unprecedented transcendence. The U's Horizon, no longer recognizable as the vessel that had first been attacked, stood as proof of the most dangerous thing in the galaxy: human refusal to accept defeat. Where enemies saw endings, humans forged new beginnings. Where others found only destruction, humanity discovered opportunity for growth beyond all limitations. The sabotage had back. 6 months had passed since the sabotage, and the U.S. Horizon no longer looked like the ship that had left Earth orbit. Kevin Hayes stood in what used to be the observation deck, watching patterns of light flow through walls that had become partially transparent. The quantum tunnels were visible now, threading through every surface like glowing veins. Ship's log, day 187. Jake recorded from his captain's chair, which had somehow merged with the ship's systems during the transformation. The quantum integration continues to exceed all expectations. We are no longer operating a vessel. We are part of it. The bridge around Jake had changed dramatically. Control panels flowed like liquid when touched, reshaping themselves for each crew member's needs. The main view screen now showed not just normal space, but several parallel dimensions where different versions of reality played out. Simultaneously, Lisa Carter emerged from an access hatch that hadn't existed the day before. The ship was constantly creating new pathways as the quantum tunnels spread. Her engineering teams had stopped trying to map all the changes, and instead learned to work with whatever the ship provided. "Captain, the latest battle data is processed," Lisa reported. "The ship has analyzed our fight with the 7th Zilithian Fleet and made improvements to the quantum weapon systems." "What kind of improvements?" Jake asked, though part of him already knew. The ship whispered information directly to his mind now, sharing knowledge through quantum connections that bypassed normal communication. "The plasma cannons can now fire through time as well as space," Ryan Foster announced from his weapons station. "We can hit enemy ships a few seconds before we actually fire. Their evasive maneuvers become useless because we're shooting it where they were going to be." Claire Thompson looked up from navigation with an expression that mixed excitement and concern. "Captain, I can now plot courses through 17 different dimensions. We can attack fleets from angles that don't exist in normal space." Amy Rodriguez had been monitoring Zilithian communications all morning, but now she removed her headset with a troubled look. "Captain, the alien chatter has changed. They're not just scared anymore. They're talking about us like we're some kind of nightmare that hunts their fleets." Jake knew what she meant. The Horizon had destroyed 43 Zilithian ships in the past month, appearing without warning and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. Each battle made the ship stronger as it learned new ways to use quantum physics as a weapon. "What are they calling us?" Jake asked. "The ghost ship," Amy translated. "They say we exist between life and death, between real and unreal. Some of their commanders are refusing to engage us at all." Dr. Kevin Hayes approached the captain's station, his tablet displaying readings that would have been impossible to understand 6 months ago. "Captain, I need to show you something important. The quantum tunnels aren't just changing our ship anymore. They're changing us." Kevin displayed brain scans of the crew taken before and after the sabotage. The recent scans showed new neural pathways that matched the patterns of the quantum tunnels running through the ship. "We're evolving," Kevin explained. "Our minds are adapting to interface directly with quantum systems. Lisa can feel engine problems before they happen. Claire can navigate through dimensions by instinct. Ryan can target enemies he hasn't even seen yet." "What about me?" Jake asked. "Your changes are the most dramatic," Kevin said quietly. "Your brain patterns now match the ship's quantum network almost perfectly. You're becoming the central consciousness that coordinates everything." Jake felt the truth of it. He could sense every part of the ship, every crew member, every quantum tunnel that connected them all. The Horizon was no longer just a vessel he commanded. It was an extension of his will, guided by his thoughts and empowered by impossible physics. Brad Collins joined them on the bridge, his security reports showing the same strange evolution throughout the crew. "Captain, morale is actually improving despite all these changes. The crew says they feel connected to something larger than themselves." "Because we are," Jake realized. "We're not just humans operating a ship anymore. We're becoming something new together. The COM system activated with an incoming message from Earth. Admiral Susan Parker's face appeared on screen, her expression serious but hopeful. Captain Morrison, your mission reports are causing quite a stir back home. Command wants to know if what you're describing is really possible. Jake looked around his transformed bridge. Reality bent and flowed around them like water. His crew worked at stations that existed in multiple dimensions, while the ship itself learned and grew stronger with each passing hour. Admiral, 6 months ago I would have said it was impossible. But the Zilithians didn't just try to destroy our ship. They accidentally gave us the keys to technologies that their own civilization doesn't understand. Can these modifications be replicated on other vessels? Parker asked. Unknown, Jake replied honestly. The quantum integration required specific damage patterns and months of evolution. It might not be something we can just copy. Kevin stepped forward. Admiral, what we're becoming is unprecedented. We're part machine, part consciousness, part quantum phenomenon. The ship responds to our thoughts and emotions. We can perceive multiple realities and manipulate space-time itself. Admiral Parker was quiet for a long moment. Are you still human, Captain? Jake considered the question. He could feel his crew's thoughts through quantum connections. He could sense enemy ships approaching from light years away. He could command weapons that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. We're more than human, he said finally. But we're still fighting for humanity. Helen Brooks, the intelligence officer, interrupted with urgent news. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive Zilithian fleet assembling at their home system. Over 200 ships. Let me guess, Jake said. They're preparing for a final battle. It looks that way, Helen confirmed. They're recalling every vessel from across their empire. Jake felt the ship's quantum systems pulse with anticipation. The horizon had grown incredibly powerful, but 200 enemy ships would be the ultimate test of what they had become. Admiral Parker, Jake said, I recommend you bring the Earth fleet to provide support, but stay back until we assess the situation. Captain, you can't seriously be considering taking on their entire military by yourself. Jake looked at his transformed crew and felt their confidence through the quantum network that connected them. They had evolved far beyond what the saboteurs had intended to destroy. Admiral, 6 months ago, they tried to break a single human ship. Instead, they created something that will reshape how war is fought across the galaxy. It's time to show them exactly what they accomplished. The U's horizon turned towards Zilithian space, no longer recognizable as the vessel that had first encountered alien sabotage. It had become something new, something powerful, and something that would soon teach an entire empire the price of underestimating human adaptability. The quantum tunnels pulsed brighter as the ship prepared for the battle that would decide the fate of 2 species. The colony of New Denver appeared on the main screen, but something was wrong. The planet should have been blue and green with white clouds. Instead, it glowed orange from fires burning on the surface. Around it, 12 Zilithian warships formed. A deadly blockade. Colony population? Jake asked quietly. Amy checked her readings. 2 million civilians, Captain. The Zilithians have been bombing them for 3 weeks. Colonel Dan Pierce is requesting immediate assistance, but his message is 2 days old. Jake studied the enemy formation. Each Zilithian ship was twice the size of the horizon and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Their shields shimmed with energy that could stop any human weapon. At least, any normal human weapon. Kevin, are the quantum tunnels still spreading? Jake asked. The scientist looked up from his instruments. His glasses reflected the strange readings on his screen. Yes, Captain. Faster now. They're connecting systems that were never meant to work together. The ship is becoming something completely different. Different how? I'm not sure yet, Kevin admitted. But the energy patterns remind me of how thoughts move through a brain, like the ship is learning to think. Lisa's voice crackled over the cum from engineering. Captain, all weapon systems are ready. Ryan says we're carrying enough firepower to fight a whole fleet now. Claire, can you get us past their sensors? The navigator smiled. The quantum bends hide us from normal detection. We can appear right in the middle of their formation before they know we're coming. Jake looked at his crew. They had been working non-stop to understand their transformed ship. Now it was time to see if their impossible improvements could save 2 million lives. All hands, battle stations, Jake announced. We're going to show the Zilithians what happens when they attack humans. The horizon folded space around itself and disappeared from normal vision. On the enemy ships, their sensors showed nothing but empty space where a human vessel should be. Commander Vex of the Zilithian fleet studied his displays with satisfaction. The human colonies were burning, and no rescue was coming. Intelligence had confirmed the destruction of their most powerful warship days ago. These humans would surrender soon. Commander, his sensor operator reported, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings near the fourth planet. Investigate, Vex ordered without much interest. Probably just solar radiation or magnetic storms. The UES horizon materialized directly between two Zilithian cruisers, so close that their hulls nearly touched. Before the aliens could react, Ryan Foster opened fire with weapons that had been transformed by quantum tunnels. The plasma beams that emerged from the horizon's cannons were not the weak streams that Zilithian shields easily stopped. They were concentrated bursts of energy that existed in several dimensions at once. They passed through the enemy barriers as if they weren't there, and struck the alien hulls with devastating force. The first Zilithian ship exploded in seconds. The second tried to turn its weapons on the horizon, but its targeting systems couldn't lock onto a ship that was partially existing in quantum space. Impossible. Commander Vex shouted as his fleet scrambled to respond. That ship was destroyed. How is it here? Jake watched the enemy panic with grim satisfaction. Ryan, target their flagship. Claire, keep us moving through the quantum bends. Don't let them get a clear shot. The horizon danced between enemy ships like it was weightless. Claire had learned to use the quantum tunnels to make short jumps that appeared to teleport the ship from place to place. The Zilithians fired wildly at positions where the human vessel had been moments before dot down on the planet's surface. Colonel Dan Pierce watched the impossible battle through his command bunker's periscope. His colony had been preparing for death when the shooting started above them. Now he saw Zilithian ships exploding one by one, while a single human vessel moved like lightning between them. Sir, his communication officer reported, I'm receiving a signal from the attacking ship. It's the UES horizon. That can't be right, Pierce said. The horizon was destroyed 3 days ago. Sir, they're requesting permission to land medical supplies and evacuation ships. Pierce stared at the battle above. 6 Zilithian ships were already burning wrecks. The remaining 6 were trying to retreat, but the horizon was hunting them down with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. Grant permission, Pierce ordered, and ask them how the hell they're doing that. Back on the horizon, Jake felt the ship responding to his commands in ways that seemed almost telepathic. When he thought about moving left, the ship was already turning before he gave the order. When he wanted more power to weapons, the energy was there instantly. Captain, Kevin reported with excitement, the quantum tunnels are responding to our thoughts. The ship is reading our intentions and anticipating what we need. Is that safe? Brad asked from his security station. I don't know, Kevin admitted, but it's working. The last Zilithian ship tried to escape by activating its jump drive. Claire had been expecting this. She used the quantum bends to fold space around the enemy vessel, trapping it between dimensions. The alien ship stretched like rubber before. Snapping back to normal space, its engines completely destroyed. Ryan's weapons finished it, with a single shot that seemed to come from 3 different directions at once. Enemy fleet eliminated, Amy reported. Colony Defense Command is requesting immediate communication. Jake opened a channel to the planet. Colonel Pierce's weathered face appeared on screen, his expression mixing relief with amazement. Captain Morrison, my sensors say you just destroyed 12 capital ships with a single vessel. How is that possible? The Zilithians tried to sabotage us, Jake explained, but they accidentally made us stronger instead, much stronger. What's your ship's condition? Jake looked around his bridge. Every system was running better than ever. The quantum improvements were still spreading, making new connections and creating new possibilities every hour. Better than new, Colonel, or something the aliens never planned for. Pierce nodded slowly. Captain, I've been fighting these creatures for months. They've destroyed human colonies across 3 sectors. If you can really hurt them the way I just saw, you need to keep fighting. That's exactly what we plan to do, Jake said. How many other colonies are under attack? 17 that we know of. Probably more by now. Jake looked at his crew. They were tired but determined. The ship around them hummed with impossible energy, eager for the next battle. Colonel, start. Evacuating your wounded to medical ships. We'll provide cover. But as soon as your people are safe, we're moving to the next colony. Understood, Captain. And Morrison? Yes. Give them hell for all of us. The Horizon began loading refugees and supplies, while its quantum systems continued evolving. Each battle was teaching the ship new ways to fight. Each victory was making it stronger. The Zilithians had wanted to cripple humanity's most advanced warship. Instead, they had created something that would haunt their fleets across the galaxy. The hunt was about to begin. Lisa Carter crawled through a narrow maintenance tunnel, her tools clanging against the metal walls. Behind her, Kevin Hayes followed with his computer tablet, recording everything they found. The ship around them hummed with new energy that felt different from before. This should not be working, Kevin muttered as he took readings from a damaged power junction. According to everything I know about physics, this ship should be dead in space. Lisa pulled herself up to examine a cluster of melted circuits. Where the Zilithian disruptors had hit, the metal looked twisted and wrong. But somehow, power was flowing through the damaged areas better than before. Forget what you know, Lisa said, connecting a new cable to bypass some broken systems. We need to think like the ship thinks now. They had been working for 6 hours straight. All over the horizon, teams were finding the same thing. The sabotage had created pathways that seemed impossible, but worked better than the original design. It was like the aliens had accidentally improved their ship while trying to destroy it. Back in engineering, Rayan Foster was testing the weapon systems. His face lit up as numbers appeared on his screen. Captain, you need to see this, he called over the comm system. Jake arrived a few minutes later with Brad Collins. They found Ryan staring at his display with amazement. Our main plasma cannons should be completely dead, Ryan explained. The power couplings were melted by the disruptors. But when I ran power through the damaged sections, look what happened. He showed them the energy readings. The weapons were drawing 3 times more power than before, and somehow converting it into focused plasma beams that could cut through anything. How is that possible? Jake asked. The quantum holes that Kevin found, Ryan said. They're not just in the reactor. They're spreading through the whole ship. Every place the aliens hit us, these tiny space tunnels opened up. They're making our energy flow in ways that shouldn't exist. Brad checked his security reports. Same thing with our shields. Half the projectors were destroyed, but the remaining ones are creating barriers stronger than we ever had before. Jake felt excitement building in his chest. Show me everything. For the next hour, his department heads explained what they were discovering. The ship's navigation system could now detect things in space that normal sensors missed. The life support was running more efficiently, even with damaged processors. Even the lights were brighter than before. Claire Thompson, the navigator, had made the strangest discovery of all. "Captain, I think we can travel faster than light without using the jump drives." "Explain," Jake said. Claire pointed to her readings. "The quantum tunnels are bending space around the ship. If I'm right, we can slide through these bends and cover huge distances in minutes instead of days." "That's impossible," Kevin said, but he was studying her data with growing excitement. "Actually, wait. Maybe it's not impossible. Maybe it's just something we never thought of before." Lisa climbed out of another maintenance shaft, her uniform torn but her eyes bright. "Captain, I've been thinking about what we should do next." "Go on." "We could try to repair everything back to normal specifications," she said. "But that would mean removing all these improvements the aliens accidentally gave us. We'd be back to having a regular ship." "Or," Jake prompted, "or we embrace what happened and build something completely new. We keep the quantum improvements and design the rest of the ship around them. Make this sabotage into our greatest advantage." Jake looked around at his crew. They were tired and dirty, but there was something new in their faces. Not just hope anymore, but eagerness. They wanted to see how far they could push this accidental miracle. "How long would it take?" he asked, "with the whole crew working together?" "Maybe 2 weeks to stabilize everything," Lisa said. "Another month to really optimize the systems." Amy Rodriguez spoke up from her communication station. "Captain, I'm still monitoring Zilithian signals. They're moving fast to attack our colonies. If we're going to do something, it needs to be soon." Jake made his decision. "We don't have a month. We'll learn as we go. Lisa, I want you to modify everything you can in the next 48 hours. Focus on weapons and engines first. Ryan, work with her to boost our firepower. Claire, figure out this new navigation system. Kevin, map every quantum tunnel in the ship so we know what we're working with." "What about repairs?" Rad asked. "No repairs," Jake said firmly. "Improvements only. We're not fixing this ship. We're evolving it into something the galaxy has never seen before." The crew scattered to their tasks with renewed energy. Throughout the horizon, teams began working with the damaged systems instead of against them. They stopped trying to make things normal and started making them better. In the weapons bay, Ryan discovered that the melted targeting computers could now lock onto ships that were trying to hide. The quantum tunnels somehow let him see through Zilithian stealth technology. Down in engineering, Lisa found that the twisted power conduits could channel energy in loops that built up incredible force before releasing it. It was like the ship was learning to store power in dimensions that didn't exist before. Kevin spent hours mapping the quantum tunnel network that now ran through every deck of the ship. Each tunnel connected to others in patterns that reminded him of brain neurons. The ship was becoming something almost alive. "Captain," Claire called. "From navigation, I think I've figured out how to test the new travel system. There's an asteroid field about a light year away. Normally, it would take days to reach it. With these quantum bends, I think we can get there in minutes." "Do it," Jake ordered. The ship hummed differently as Claire activated systems that had never existed before. Space around the horizon began to twist and fold. Stars stretched into lines of light and then suddenly snapped back to normal. "Location confirmed," Claire reported, her voice filled with wonder. 1 light year in 3 minutes. "Captain, we just traveled faster than anything in the known galaxy." Jake looked out at the asteroid field surrounding them. Each rock was exactly where it should be, according to Claire's calculations. They had just proven that the impossible was now routine. "Set course for the nearest Zilithian fleet," he ordered. It's time to show them what their sabotage really accomplished. The U.E.'s horizon turned toward enemy territory, no longer the same ship that had been attacked. It was something new, something powerful, and something the Zilithians were completely unprepared for. Their perfect sabotage had created their perfect enemy. Captain Jake Morrison felt the ship shake under his feet. Red lights flashed across the bridge of the U.E.'s horizon as alarms screamed through the corridors. Sparks flew from broken control panels, while smoke filled the air with a bitter smell. "Report!" Jake shouted over the noise. Lisa Carter, the chief engineer, ran her hands over a damaged console. Her face was covered in grease and worry lines. "Captain, they hit us bad. Really bad. The fusion core is acting strange, and half our systems are down." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew worked at their stations, trying to fix what they could. The emergency lights made everything look red and dangerous. Through the main window, he could see stars spinning slowly as the ship drifted without power. How did they get so close? Jake asked Amy Rodriguez, his communications officer. She was young but smart, and always caught enemy signals before anyone. Amy shook her head. "They came from nowhere, Captain. No warning at all. Their ships were invisible until they attacked." She paused, listening to her headset. "I'm picking up Zilithian signals now. They think they killed us." The Zilithians were bad news. They had been attacking human colonies for months. Their technology was better than anything humans had. Their ships could disappear, and their weapons could break through any shield. Most people thought the war was already lost. Dr. Kevin Hayes ran onto the bridge. He was the ship's scientist, a thin man who usually stayed in his lab. Now his clothes were torn, and his glasses were crooked. "Captain, you need to see this." Kevin sighed, breathing hard. "Something weird is happening in the engine room." Jake followed Kevin and Lisa down to the lower levels of the ship. The corridors were dark, except for emergency lighting. They passed crew members trying to fix broken pipes and damaged walls. Everyone looked scared, but determined. The engine room was a mess. The big fusion reactor in the center usually glowed with a steady blue light. Now it flickered and changed colors like a broken rainbow. Strange sounds came from deep inside the machine. "The saboteurs hit us with something called molecular disruptors," Lisa explained. "They were supposed to tear apart our reactor from the inside. Should have blown us up completely." "But we're not dead," Jake said. "No, we're not," Kevin agreed. He pointed at his readings. "Look at these numbers. The energy output is going up, not down. The sabotage created tiny holes in space itself, right inside our reactor. It's making the fusion reaction stronger somehow." Jake stared at the dancing lights inside the reactor. "You're saying their weapon made us more powerful?" "I think so," Kevin said. "But I don't understand how yet." Lisa wiped sweat from her face. "Captain, we can't fix this the normal way. The damage is too strange. But maybe we don't need to fix it. Maybe we need to work with it instead." Back on the bridge, Amy was still listening to enemy signals. "Captain, the Zilithians are celebrating. They think the horizon is finished. Their fleets are moving toward our colonies right now." Jake sat in his captain's chair and thought hard. His ship was damaged, but somehow getting stronger. The enemy thought they had won. His crew was scared, but ready to fight. How long before they figure out we're still alive? He asked. "Maybe a few hours," Amy said. "They're not watching us closely anymore." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa with her dirty engineer clothes and worried face. Kevin with his broken glasses and excited expression as he studied his readings. Amy listening carefully to enemy signals. Brad Collins, his security chief, checking weapons that might not work anymore. Ryan Foster, his weapons expert, trying. to understand what was left of their guns. These people trusted him to get them home safely. But Jake was starting to think about something bigger than just going home. Lisa, how fast can you learn to work with this new reactor instead of against it? Give me a few hours, she said. Kevin and I can figure out the basics. Do it, Jake ordered. Kevin, I want to know everything about these quantum holes or whatever they are. Amy, keep listening to the enemy, but don't let them know we're here. Brad, check our weapons. Ryan, see what kind of firepower we have left. What are you thinking, Captain? Lisa asked. Jake looked at the strange readings on Kevin's screen. The numbers kept going up. Their broken reactor was somehow making more energy than it ever had before. I'm thinking the Zilithians made a big mistake, Jake said. They tried to break us, but they might have made us stronger instead. If we can figure out how to use this, maybe we can surprise them. You want to fight? Brad asked. With it damaged. Ship? Not damaged, Jake said, watching the reactor readings climb higher. Changed. Different. Maybe better. The crew looked at each other. They were scared, but Jake could see something else in their eyes now. Hope. Determination. The same thing that had carried humans to the stars in the first place. The Zilithians think they know everything about our technology, Jake continued. But they don't know about this. They don't know what they accidentally created when they tried to destroy us. Lisa smiled for the first time since the attack. You want to turn their sabotage against them? Exactly, Jake said. They wanted to break our ship. Instead, they're going to help us build something new, something they won't see coming. The UE's horizon drifted through space, looking broken and defeated. But inside, something was changing. Something the Zilithians had never planned for. Something that would soon make them very sorry they had ever attacked a human ship.